Coming up on today's show, we will take a look at some Bengals rumors specifically around free agency, running back and defensive line getting our attention. Before we get going, if you want some Bengals coverage from the NFL Combine this year, coming up next week, we are not that far away from it, then share today's, let's prove to the bosses this is something you guys want. Share today's video for me right now. We're going to begin with, one hell of a fun idea. Justin Madubuike to the Bengals, stealing him from the Ravens. ESPN listing the Bengals as the best destination for Madubuike in free agency. Here was the argument, quote, look for the Ravens to make a strong play to retain Madubuike, who had a career-high 13 sacks in 2023. But I also like him in Cincinnati for a defense that needs to add more speed and playmaking ability to its front seven. The Bengals allowed a league-worst 6 yards per play last season. Madubuike has the foot quickness and the first-step juice to leverage blockers and make an impact in the pocket. I would love to steal him from the Baltimore Ravens. That would be an ideal scenario. I take him away. I negatively impact the Ravens. And more importantly, I make my team better. I fill my biggest need with the best young option on the open market that, doesn't include Chris Jones. I might have to cut B.J. Hill, as part of this conversation. I might have to save the money there and give it to Madubuike because he's going to command a big, fat contract in the end. Because what you want to see from young players, you want to see growth. You want to see development. You want to see him getting better each season. And that is what we have seen from Madubuike. Tackles, TFLs, and sacks have all gone up in the correct direction with a massive breakout this season. You sometimes see defensive tackles needing more time to grow and develop. And you saw flashes early on from Madubuike and what you haven't really seen from Zach Carter so far for the Bengals. And it's like a massive jump forward this season. And because of that, I don't find it all that realistic. I love the idea, but it's an idea. I think the Ravens have a real chance of just tagging Madubuike. If he does it, all bets are off the table. Let's go get aggressive and go get him to Cincinnati. But I think, double-digit sack interior defensive linemen are very rare. Those guys don't materialize very often. When they do, they don't normally hit the open market. So whether it's a dream name or maybe a more realistic name, who is an NFL free agent that you want the Bengals to sign? Sound off for me in the comments section right now. It's the pinned comment on this video. You should know what that means by now. Ignore the ad that might come here on YouTube. Nobody cares. Go head down there instead and let me know a free agent that you want to sign. Let's talk running backs here on the show. The Bengals are among the betting favorite from sportsbetting.ag to land Austin Ekeler this offseason, which I find interesting. Here are the next team odds. The Ravens, who are linked to a lot of running backs in free agency, are plus 500. The Eagles are plus 600. Of note, Chargers OC Kellen Moore, now in Philadelphia. The Bears plus 700, along with Denver. Buffalo plus 900. And the Bengals down there at plus 1,000. Now, I have worries about Austin Ekeler. Now, part of me wonders if the odds are overall lower for the Bengals because Mixon's still under contract. There are things about his game that are red flags of, hey, this might not be going the way you want it to go. Red flag alert. That is the decline in the age setting in there. We'll break those down here momentarily, but we do have the Bengals NFL Jam shirts on sale for you guys once again. It is the dynamic duo themselves, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. This will be linked in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/BengalsJam. Again, chatsports.com/BengalsJam. Check it out today. Back to our Ekeler conversation here. This is what decline looks like. In terms of the rushing, and look, we can blame the offensive line, the scheme, sure. All of those things are always valid conversations, but, he fell off a cliff in terms of his production on the ground. When the yards per carry drop by a yard, I don't like that. Look, he missed some time with injuries, but whenever you have a running back who, A, was going to get paid, and nobody paid him in the offseason because they didn't want to do it, when you have a soon-to-be 29-year-old back who has seen his numbers drop off significantly, I get worried about that because running back shelf lives are very short. And the carry numbers have always been lower for Ekeler's about to be 1,000 there. But he's also been heavily involved in the passing game. And to a certain extent, not all touches are created equal. But when you're, almost to the 1,500 mark in touches, that's a lot for your NFL career. And I would be worried that the best days of Ekeler are behind him. And if we're doing the whole mixing conversation about not being as explosive, that was Ekeler as well. So what do you think? Would you guys sign him? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off where else but the comments section. Now, the same betting odds out for other running backs, namely Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, and the Bengals are much further down in those conversations. Now, betting odds not everything, but it does help, give some indication of what Vegas thinks teams are going to do, right? I wonder if because Joe Mixon is under contract and not cut, and we'll see if that ends up happening or not. My guess is yes, but it is a guess, and we'll see what happens there. That's why the bigger name back's not as high for the Bengals, because there is a starting option already in place. We have spent a lot of time on Joe Mixon. I don't want to necessarily rehash it again today. We will have more coverage for you here when the Bengals make signings. When stuff goes down, we got you covered. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV for more free videos. Let's begin and then discuss Derrick Henry. The odds, the Ravens, very high at those, plus 200. The Cowboys, plus 500, along with Philadelphia. Houston, plus 700. Keep an eye on Saquon Barkley, them, by the way. Minnesota, plus 900. Bills and Chargers, both plus 1,200. Packers, which I think makes no sense. Bears and Colts at plus 1,800. Again, they have Jonathan Taylor. So why would they go after Derrick Henry? The Bengals, all the way being down there at plus 2,000 is kind of shocking from that perspective. I feel like it should be a little bit higher. Maybe not top 5, but I feel like higher would make some sense. Derrick Henry is a very good football player. He is no longer the 2020 borderline MVP version, 2,000 yards, 5+ yard per carry back that he was in his prime. But he is still a very good football player. And he'd be an upgrade over Joe Mixon. The question would be, what is the contract difference? How much is Derrick Henry going to command at his age and his workload? We made the comment of, Austin's got all those touches. He's got 1,500 touches, in his NFL career so far. Derrick Henry has 2,000 carries plus 150 catches. So he's led the NFL in carries every year except for the 2021 campaign in which he missed half the season and was on pace for 400 carries that year. He's still a workhorse back, but at a certain point, time waits for no man. And I think we've seen some decline showing, but not the same level as maybe some of the steeper drop-offs seen from guys like Dalvin Cook. All right, Josh Jacobs, next up here. Chargers are the favorite there, plus 400. Ravens, Texans, Cowboys, Giants all above or better than plus 1,000 there. Packers, again, are high on the list. Bears are high. Steelers with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Again, that's kind of weird to me, them being that high, and the Bengals not being above a team like Pittsburgh. Jacobs has been a very streaky player. And again, outside of Derrick Henry, in most cases, the player who leads the league in carries one year has a fall off the next season. That's a general trend over the past decade, with some exceptions of like the special players. Josh Jacobs, almost 1.5 yard per carry drop off. He was elite in 2022. But was that the outlier year? Because, I'm looking down the barrel of, hey, you know what? He's got sub 4 yard per carry 3 of the past 4 years. Which one's the real Jacobs? Maybe it's built around your offensive line. All of those things are elements we have to consider in these conversations. So will the Bengals add a running back in free agency? Sound off for me in the comments section. 1 for yes or 2 for no.